About me, I'm Paula Kaminska. I'm User Experience Director at Tuesday. Tuesday is a financial technology startup based in Cornwall, and I've been with them for nearly 3 years now, totally overseeing the entire user experience, but also employee experience. We'll use our industry buzzwords as their synonyms. We have interaction, usability, user-centered design, user experience design, and design thinking. And these are quite different things, so I would like to guide you through a couple of them. I said already that user experience is more about psychology, because it includes people's and users' emotions, responses, both physical, physiological, preferences, perception, attitudes towards any product, any system, any service, which occurs before, during, and after each use. So what it means that suddenly it's a really subjective thing. It's a subjective matter because it's all about individual perception. And what users really care about is the efficiency of the product they use, the ease of use, the friendliness. And that's exactly what user experience design is focusing on improving this usability, accessibility, maybe even giving pleasure. And we could do it with user-centered design, which is design process, which is also iterative. So it doesn't happen just once. In some companies, it happens on a weekly basis. So for example, in the first iteration, we can have a designer getting requirements from a stakeholder and then maybe creating first mock-up, let's say on a paper. Paper prototypes are quite quick to make. And we can test it straight away. We don't have to test it with the target audience yet. We can just ask a colleague to participate in a very simple usability test. And we can learn a lot about the usability of the solution we want to design. And this will inform next stages of design. So next week we can create a more detailed, for example, more refined prototype, maybe this time digital, maybe wireframes with the actual content, and keep improving. Then we have usability, and Jacob Nielsen was the father of usability who came up with 10 usability heuristics. And I listed a couple of them. For example, visibility of system status. So for example, in other words, it means timely feedback. Users want to know what happens with the app system they use. For example, when we think about the website, we have a progress bar, which is progressing when the page is loading, so users can estimate when it's going to load. What I don't recommend using is this circling refresh icon, because you know something is loading, but you have no idea when it's going to happen. Conventions are very safe. It's particularly true with online shops. Every online shop, I think, works in the same way. You choose the product, you process the payment method, and then the address to complete the purchase. No one tries to reinvent the wheel because that would be too much cognitive load to try to learn this process again. And recently I was making a usability audit for a friend. Their company website had on the main page 4 main call to actions, large orange buttons with different text. One was saying more about our offer, the other one was saying help us choose your better product, something like that. Every single button on that page was taking me down to the bottom to the contact form. Control is really important online because in our physical world we have physics, we have rules, we have gravity, we have directions. It doesn't exist online. We have to create handrails for users to move around. Maybe you remember in the past we were so bad with designing good menus that we were designing a dedicated page called sitemap, not for bots but for people, to help them orient themselves. You know, in the past, we asked the user to remove an item from the basket, let's say. We give them this opportunity. They click remove, and then suddenly a patronizing dialogue is coming up. Are you sure you want to proceed? So it's not really good from a psychological point of view, and it also adds extra click. So it's much better to just allow the user to remove that item, and then allow them to undo, maybe in within the next 10 seconds or forever, depending on the context. In the past, internet was full of under construction pages. I don't know if you remember. There would be a website, very rich menu, you start clicking, half of the website's pages don't actually exist, they just are under construction. So we no longer do that because it's promising content which isn't there. So when we create a hope, we create disappointment if we don't deliver. And finally, design thinking, which is slightly different because design thinking is a creative approach to solving problems, and it's designed for teams. And by the team, I don't mean bringing a team of designers, but taking people from different departments or teams. So let's have in a design workshop one front-end developer, back-end developer, designer, maybe tester, product designer, maybe manager, ideally a stakeholder, someone from C-level. I find this the most useful, actually. It's really not a new idea. Design thinking existed for decades in other industries like architecture, for example. It's just very new in IT. And it helps people design really creative and innovative solutions, and at the same time builds a strong common ground. It's almost like a team building exercise. And what I like about this picture, actually, we don't spend too much time thinking what we're gonna build because everyone is already in the room. So, you know, we don't design something as designers and then developers tell us, oh, we can't do it. No, everyone's in the room, so we can actually agree pretty quickly, sort that out, and focus who we're gonna target and how we're gonna actually build it. And that actually develops shared vocabulary as well, so that we don't communicate differently, let's say, internally and externally about the products we make. And what design thinking also does, it gets rid of hierarchy, the very old model and the way companies tend to be run, where people who have the loudest voice or feel the most in power make decisions. In design thinking workshops, it's all about equality. So everyone can express their ideas on post-it notes and put them on the wall, and later in one of the another iterations, they can vote, and everyone has exactly the same number of votes they can give to the ideas about, let's say, what features our product should have. And whether they're a junior tester, an intern, or someone from C-level, they have the same amount of votes. And using this democratic model builds trust. And when you have trust-based company culture, people are more satisfied with their job, especially when they're involved from such early stages like this one, because here we do it before we even start building anything. Cross-functional talent. It's really important that user experience design is not only the domain of designers. We still find sometimes companies where people guard their ideas or blame other departments or are not admitting someone's great vision. And that culture doesn't work, and the culture really impacts our products and their quality. Even nowadays, we have designer coming up with, let's say, 3 designs for the website, and they ask their manager, okay, which design are we going with? And the manager will follow their gut feeling, oh, I like that one. Well, design is not an art. We can measure everything, and we should choose the design that performs best. It's quite important that designers bring it up even to C-level, the design decisions, and they need to show how much design decisions tie into business goals. And that was me. If you have any questions, happy to answer them now.